literally the easiest thing you can do to get your head in the game and finally fix that problematic symptom of your head not in the right positions, consequently leading to faulty shots. But instead of using a normal soccer ball, let's use a baby soccer ball. This right here, a hacky sack. This here will do wonders for your game. Let's get your head in the game and let's start fixing your swing. So essentially what we're looking for with this hacky sack drill is we need you to be more level-headed. So we're going to take a look at a number of examples today with golfers, the pros in particular, that are level-headed. But with these examples, you're going to see the beautiful rotation of the body, because with most professionals, you see a level head. Now, you may see a little movement or rotation of the head, the body, as a backswing is being made. That's fine. A little bit of movement off the ball, per se. But as far as excessive tilting of the head, one way or the other, or back or forward, these are things that can be very detrimental, and I'll show and explain to you why those things are happening in your swing, and we're going to get that cleaned up. Now, in regards to the hacky sack, this thing is super lightweight. You won't even barely feel it on top of your head. You can find one of these on Amazon. They're very inexpensive. What's great about this, just throw this in your bag next time you're practicing. Now, in regards to the setup, yes, we would like to have the spine tilted slightly away from the target at address. We would be set and positioned where our head would be quote unquote behind the ball. But when too many of you are making backswings where there's too much sway or slide this way and the head tilts in the opposite direction, lower body works here, upper body works there, you can see how my head tilted this way. Not ideal. Additionally, those of you that are not compressing the ball properly, where you essentially hang back on the ball to try to lift it in the air, and I often hear from students, they'll say, oh man, I didn't get under the ball enough, and that's kind of like the fingernails on a chalkboard scenario. We don't want to hear that, because we don't want to get under an iron shot. We need to be hitting down to make it go up. However, your attempt to get a higher flighted shot, I often see a player that gets set at address with an excessive amount of spine tilt this way. And with too much excessive spine tilt, yes, your head is behind the ball, but from here, this is not an ideal setup to give you the best chance to get the best result. Plus, those of you with a driver, you've been told we've got to get the head behind the ball at address. Yes, we do, but again, if it becomes where I'm over here like this, in an attempt to hit up on the ball, this is an excessive amount of tilt of the head and spine. And some other faulty head positions where your head is not in the game and we need to get you more level-headed are examples like this. A player may swing to the top quite nicely, but on the way down, I see, especially I get these young guys in here, these 20, 30-year-old guys that just want to literally kill the ball. I'll see on the way down, they lunge forward this way. The head and spine tilts down to the ball. You can see from the face-on view how as I came down, I literally lunged down at it this way. That's not an ideal way to hit a ball. We're going to end up driving it so low into the ground, it's barely going to get off the ground. Other dreaded mistakes regarding the head. The classic lifting and straightening the head, the spine. Gazillions of players do that. Very faulty. I've often seen many times as well, a player that kind of goes down this way. The spine just tilted too far forward. Now there has to be some sort of raising on the downswing. Good luck hitting a solid shot that way. And of course, examples of an off-plane swing, in particular, the downswing. Who knows where somebody's backswing may be, hopefully on plane, but if we're coming down and we're spinning out, we're hanging back on this right side, the head starts tilting excessively this way, we swipe across the ball from outside in. I've even seen plenty of examples as well where a player may be up to the top quite nice, but then they over shallow the club. It drops too far behind them. There is an excessive amount of side bend, as it's called. They tilt so this way, like this. They end up hitting it very fast. Again, not a good scenario to hit solid shots. And of course, even backswings. A player that just pulls the club way to the inside like this, you can see how their body kind of wraps around themselves. The head gets pulled out of position, too tilted back here. There are numerous ways that your head is not in the game. And as always, I offer you a free swing analysis. All you need to do, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Doesn't get any easier than that. You'll see below in the first pinned comment is a link to my website, and I'll tell you how you and I today can get started with your free swing analysis. Now, the issue of the slight movement of the head off the ball is a pressure shift or a pressure change, a movement away slightly from the target. As what you see with numerous professionals, that movement off the ball this way, the pressure into this trail side, but a little pressure away from the target. As they turn beautifully, they have given themselves the best chance to make the best downswing. That little pressure or shift away from the target is no different than literally any other sport. Let's say baseball, for example. You will see the batter as they have their bat and they're ready to go. As that pitch is coming in, they actually move a little bit away from the pitcher as they then shift back towards the pitcher. Same thing as a pitcher. He is working away from the batter, away from the catcher, as he then inevitably throws the ball 90, 100 miles an hour in that direction. So there's a little bit of that for golf, and that's totally fine. Conversely, there are some tour pros that have a pretty steady head. They're very level-headed. The one that comes to mind is the #1 player in the world at the moment on the LPGA Tour, Nelly Korda. For the most part, she has a relatively steady head. Yes, there's a little bit of motion in there, but it's a minor amount. So how do we fix that? Grab your hacky sack. Guys, this is literally the easiest thing you can do. And as I mentioned earlier, this barely weighs anything. You're barely going to know it's on your head. So take your normal address position as such and simply place the hacky sack directly on top of your head. Now I see when I do this with students, sometimes they kind of place it kind of here, let's say, and it ends up kind of falling off right away. So like I say, get yourself situated right here and then place this, yes, on the top of your head, but it almost feels to me like it's almost a little bit back of dead center of my head. And that's totally fine. Obviously the goal here is to keep it balanced on top of your head. Now as I place this on top of my head, and I show you some of those faulty scenarios from earlier, which are numerous different faults. Whether I take the club way to the inside like this, you can see that hacky sack falls off. Let's do it again. The other example could be like this, where I've seen thousands of golfers where they swing out with the club immediately off plane and their hip slides this way, but the head and spine tilt too excessively towards the target, something like this. Not ideal. This is kind of a lifter and a chopper. Not a good way to hit a golf ball. So as I swing to the top, hopefully my plane is very nice. That would be wonderful. Now again, you will see from the face on camera there that the head moves slightly in this direction, slightly. As I turn, that's a big thing. You just don't want to keep a steady head like this, but have no turn of the lower body. That is not powerful. So from here, as I swing to the top, there's a little movement away from the target, but I have kept a very level head. So just doing that, making practice backswings alone will do wonders for your swing. And of course, you can hit balls with this. So let's do it now. Let's take your baby soccer ball, the hacky sack, and the goal with this is to stay relatively level-headed during the backswing and into impact. Let's give it a shot. So let's get into a good posture at address. Let's set the hacky sack here, and hopefully with good turn of the body, I can make a good swing. So let's see how relatively level-headed I can be. That felt really good. Awfully close to the pin. Look at that. Looks like about a 5 or 6 footer. I'll take that all day long. And looking at my path number right here, beautiful. I came from the inside, 0.3 degrees. Awesome. I'll take that a million times over. So do yourself a favor, grab a hacky sack, and stay level-headed with the goal of making better swings to get better results.